Ziri is one of the top tanks in the game. But at the same time, there are not that many tiers of tanks in this game. You have your offensive tanks, you have your defensive tanks, you have your utility tanks. There's a lot of overlap there. And then within those categories, it's hard to put a value. It's hard to put a value on what Ziri does compared to what Rufus does, for example. So I thought that I would talk a little bit about the best tanks, what makes a good tank, and I'm not talking about like how we've made jokes in the past about Galahad and Chaba and all of that. When it comes to usage of tanks in Hero Wars, there's different ways to build a tank. There's different ways to build a team. You can use an actual tank, or you can use a non-tank like Anvari. In the case of the guild raid boss, you could use Osh. You can use heroes like Marcus. A tank can make or break a lineup. Couldn't tell you how many times it's as simple as swapping out tanks for the win. Yeah, I'll tell you, Taro. I don't know if Taro, if you're here, but you guys know Taro. He's a French mobile player. Probably the best engineer player I've seen. He has systematically been destroying every team that I throw at him with his Ginger Isaac team. And a lot of the times, and we're talking about Hero Wars Mobile here, a lot of the times the Ginger Isaac team that he's using is swapping tanks. Swapping tanks is giving him the win. And I just find that incredibly fascinating. The question on whether or not you need to go after Ziri can only be answered by this. Do you need a tank? And if you kind of need a tank, do you need a tank to defend against physical teams? Because Ziri excels against physical attack teams or physical defense teams, right? High health, very high health. I think the second highest health in the game on Hero Wars Mobile. Something like 770,000 health. Just a ridiculous amount of health. Pretty decent armor at around 40,000 armor. And she's got poor magic defense, but she's still got pretty decent magic defense. 25,000. So she's okay, right? She's okay whenever it comes to... What did I click on? When it comes to defending against all of the damage types, she's pretty decent. She's pretty decent. And I put out a video earlier today discussing how to counter her. But really, whenever you're trying to counter teams, you don't typically try to counter the tank per se. You try to kill, the damage dealer. We discussed that the other day. But a lot of people were discussing on some Facebook chat. I can't remember which group it was, but they were discussing like why Ziri is a good tank and why Asteroth is kind of not the greatest tank anymore. And we've had a lot of conversations about the best tanks, right? We've had a lot of conversations about why I like Asteroth. Asteroth has actual tanking ability. He's got this area of effect team shield. It's a physical damage shield. And then you have this revive, extremely helpful. But, you could say that you don't need either of those things, right? The physical shield doesn't really protect that well against mage teams, so arguably Asteroth is not a great hero to use against mage teams. And with the Kira Sebastian Jet bug against Asteroth, Asteroth isn't that great of a tank on Hero Wars Mobile. He's pretty strong. Like, he's overall a pretty strong choice. One of the better choices you can level up. But he's not the best choice. Luther is getting this new magic defense skin. His stats are going to be really high. He, jumps to the enemy line, turns them around for a little while. So the question, kind of the discussion that I wanted to have here is just to kind of feel you all out. There's 3 ways you can level up a tank. There's 3 reasons to level up a tank. 1, they have the best tanking ability. Right? They keep your team alive the longest. Asteroth, right? Ziri with her provoke ability. Corvus with his hero movement ability, right? Do you like tanks with extremely high stats? Okay. Cleaver has high stats. Luther has very high stats. I think Rufus has the highest health in the game, and then Ziri has the second highest health in the game. I'm not sure who has the highest armor in the game of all the tanks. Or do you level up tanks for utility? So there's really 3 reasons to level up a tank. So I'm just curious how people's thought processes are. I'm curious what you all think about it. Asteroth shield is poor though, says Wally. It's a very poor ult when it comes to tank ults. That's true. That's true. Asteroth's revive is solid gold. Okay, she's got a damage redirect. If anything, she is Yeah, Jeremy, she does have that damage redirect. Very strong ability. Focus of Hatred. I like Asteroth, definitely one of my go-to tanks. Aurora, Ziri, Cleaver, top tier. Roth has a foot in both top tier and next tier down. Okay. The way that I've always built tanks in Hero Wars has been on defending the team first. You know, I really like Asteroth for his revive and his team shield, even though his team shield's not that great. I've liked Aurora on Facebook because of the dodge energy changes. Her being able to spam that dodge artifact weapon, I feel like is an incredible asset to that team. However, you can counter dodge teams pretty effectively, right? And she has her own built-in magic damage mitigation. I think Aurora is a pretty solid choice of a tank. But if I were starting over, and I had the opportunity to get Cleaver as early as I got any of the other tanks, Asteroth, Aurora, Galahad day one, or, you know, Luther after a little bit of farming, or I don't know, just any of the tanks, I think that I might start with Cleaver, just because he has, at least on Facebook and web, he has the highest potential with all of the Ascension stuff, the 5th skin. Although Ziri's not a bad choice. Ziri is fantastic. You just have to, there's less build options with Ziri than there is with Cleaver. Ziri highest armor for tank. Okay. I've been using Ziri Galahad on my free-to-play web account. Galahad is a solid choice. Galahad is, you know, he's somebody that we make fun of a lot here on the live stream, but he's got this physical attack artifact making him the most offensive of all of the tanks. You could argue he's the most offensive, although, you know, you could say that potentially Corvus edges him out a little bit, even though Corvus has that armor artifact. I level tanks on the route of I started down this road and now so far in, I might as well commit. I honestly like Galahad because he balances defense and rapid offense, but Asteroth has more utility. So I don't know. I would like some conversations over the next week. Maybe you all take a weekend to think about it and try to find the answer for yourself. Why you chose the tank that you chose. Some of us have multiple tanks leveled up. Some of us only have one tank, 3 tanks. Ziri's the best tank for Kark. Really? Okay. Luther, second highest armor. Ziri, highest armor. Christopher says, Ziri is one of my mains. She can take serious damage. I find her effective against Hydra boss. Aurora is a cheat code. The way she soaks up damage is mind-boggling. Yeah, we're going to talk about a failed attack against Aurora a little bit later on in the live stream when we have some time. This Aurora I couldn't get past her. My Nearmax Ziri couldn't kill. I'm sorry, my Nearmax Kira couldn't kill an opposing Ziri. I think Ziri's a trick. I think people think that they can counter the Ziri, that they can bring down the Ziri. I think they're overconfident in their physical attacking teams. I chose Asteroth because his devil skin was dope. Nice. And the resurrection was key. Recently been working on Rufus for mage teams. I like Rufus a lot too. All of the tanks are effective. Even our lowly Chaba is an effective tank. Though I probably would recommend Chaba the least. I don't really know why. He can take an Aurora out of the fight. He can expose that second hero in line without having to use a squishy faceless. I just got Cleaver. Any quick tips on how to make him better? Cleaver. Congratulations, first of all. Play well KWA. Cleave Daddy needs investment just like any other tank. Armor first, health, strength, magic defense where you can, because Chaba is ugly. Don't forget Martha. So Martha technically is a tank on Hero Wars Mobile. She is a tank. Now we are talking about frontline heroes. Generally speaking, we're talking about frontline heroes, but it is important to protect the entire line. It's funny how she's a tank. It's real funny how she's a tank on mobile. Drew's a tank is a hilarious choice because he does stupid amounts of damage. So when it comes to Hero Soulstone events, this is a higher priority than most because Ziri is one of the top tanks in the game. But at the same time, there are not that many tiers of tanks in this game. You have your offensive tanks, you have your defensive tanks, you have your utility tanks. There's a lot of overlap there. And then within those categories, it's hard to put a value. It's hard to put a value on what Ziri does compared to what Rufus does, for example. Right? Rufus is amazing against magic damage teams, against pure damage teams. Protects the whole team with the magic defense shield. Does a little bit of damage, right? A little bit of control. Does that make Rufus better or worse than Ziri? They have comparable stats. They do what they're supposed to. They got stats for what they're supposed to do. Tanks are weird. Tanks are weird.